Som, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a caramel pearl milk tea.
Brilliant.
And do you know what? I'm not like a massive bubble tea person.
Are you not? Oh, okay.
And I called up my friend this morning. I was like, have you ever had the caramel one? She was like, yeah, I think so. I was like, okay, but do you think it'll be nice? She was like, yeah, it'll be sweet. And I'm like, okay, yeah,
if it's sweet,
that's
yeah.
what I need. I have the biggest sweet tooth, like
me too.
known to man. Like, my bedside table, the bottom drawer is literally pull out sweets.
Yeah. Do you snack while you work? Like
I snack all the time.
Yeah.
It's a problem. Like to the point where I just I'd go into like my daily stand-ups and oh, new sweet.
New sweet, yeah. I've got also a very sweet one. It's actually a matcha Oreo. Have you ever had it?
Oh.
With boba pearls. So it's really, really sweet, really nice.
Oreo.
Yeah. This is probably not good, but
sometimes you just need a bit of sweet.
Yeah, and it's like exactly. And I would love to know, what do you do? What is Nestwork?
What is Nestwork? The good old slogan, a career social network for students. By students, for students.
By students, for students. Nice. Okay, you got the branding right.
Yeah. You know, I couldn't get it wrong. They might be like, that's not our slogan.
That's right, yeah.
What is Nestwork? So Nestwork is, actually a bit of background. So between kind of the three co-founders and me, kind of the early team, you've got a range of different career opportunity experience. So like I was someone that knew what I wanted to do from jump, went into uni, found a first year opportunity, second year graduate job. You have some that came into it in second year, some that came into it almost too late in second year.
Yeah.
So we all kind of had very different experiences with the career world.
Okay. Or your team, your founding team member. Well, yeah, the initial team members.
Going into university, and I think the big reason for Nestwork was everyone deserves to be aware of the opportunities from jump. Because one, you miss 100% of the opportunities that you don't even know about.
True. Yeah. If you can access, like if they've got access schemes and you don't know, what's even the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you will find a lot of people that go throughout uni and it's like, oh, do you know what you want to do? No clue.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're all here to get the degree and the education, but when you finish, when you walk across that stage and you graduate, it's like, okay, but what do I do now? And there's so many schemes and so many insight days, spring weeks, placements, internships, whatever. But people aren't aware of them. People don't necessarily know where to look, or it's such a massive pool that you're like, where do I even start? So kind of the purpose of Nestwork is to make people aware, even before they come into university, of what opportunities are out there, what companies are there. Because you find there's that gap of people that don't even know this world exists and the people that have been knowing from like before uni. And it's more kind of about leveling that playing field. Making people aware, if whether you want to take it or not, but like,
it's a choice.
Just so that you're aware, so that you know what's out there. Because I think for me, I look back and I'm like, had I not done that in first year, where would I be now? Because like I'm very fortunate that I got essentially my grad scheme off the back of first year.
Yeah.
Like that November 2019 interview took me to September of 2022.
To do your, it's incredible,
and I want that for more people.
Yeah.
Because not only does it make uni just that little bit less stressful.
Yeah.
Because it's that one thing you don't have to think about. Like application season is so time consuming. It's so like it's almost like a full-time job alongside doing uni. And I think the sooner people are aware, the sooner they can almost lock down what they want to do.
And even know what you don't want.
Yeah. And I've always said that it's like with placement years and internships, it's like a win-win almost at the end of the day, because it's like, if you like it, you know what you want to do. If you don't like it, you're staying away from it.
You got paid, I guess.
You got paid, hopefully. But you also are kind of one step closer in knowing that I didn't like this part. Let me try something else. And the sooner you start trying, because obviously if you're only doing, let's say 3 years at uni, that's only 2 summers. So if you've already missed a summer, you've
only
only got one
yeah.
summer left to try something. Whereas if you're able to start kind of with that first summer or first spring week, whatever, you can build up more experiences a bit sooner. When you go into these interviews and they're asking you your competencies, it's like, well, do you know, I've actually worked in a company. I've done this. I have something to speak about. And I think everyone finishes uni with a degree.
Yeah. But
so you want to have that extra thing that sets you apart, that you can say, oh, I did this experience prior. So that's essentially what Nestwork is doing, is Nestwork's putting information for how to apply, where to apply, what roles, what events, what opportunities are out there, so that you don't feel so lost in this massive space.
Yeah. I feel like it's funny because we just had a chat with Joe, and I think he's got like a really similar mission to you guys. Because I remember when I was in first year, I was went to this HSBC graduate scheme thing, and this was me thinking I was being proactive in first year, like going to this event. And I remember the lady told me, was like, have you had any experience? And I was like, I'm in first year. Like,
so what experience do you want from me?
What do you think I have? Like, I'm trying to get some, hopefully. And she was like, oh, I can't believe it. Like, you know, she was like, have you done this in school? Were you part of this club in school? And I was like thinking, how is this? It's a world that no one really knows exists. But you're meant to know and have had experience. So I think it's like really great what you're doing, hopefully providing students that are not thrown into the deep end or coming out of uni being like, I don't have a job, I've not had experience. Like, it can be really daunting.
It can be, and I think even, as you said, it's like first year, okay, what's your experience? It's like also going to like sixth formers and going, well, there's like insight days. Like
insight days,
I used to go to like random.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, like I remember going to like some insight day at Sky.
Sky's really good for
like year 13, and I found that like just by chance kind of thing. But we want people to not find things just by chance.
To have like a dedicated platform.
Like a place that you can go and know like, oh, these are an event. And it's that for students, by students, because it's like all members of the team are students, whether we've graduated or we're still there. So we know what students go through, whether it's us personally, whether it's our friends and seeing it. So it's like we understand what it is that students are looking for. And I think it's very easy to get lost and thing like going on LinkedIn and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on.
So much, yeah.
And it's like,
or even knowing LinkedIn exists.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like, it's such a big world that people just aren't aware that it's there and have access to.
Yeah. So what does your day-to-day look like as the CTO of Nestwork?
What does my day-to-day look like? That's a good question, because I think as all-consuming as Nestwork is, I think there are some days where I don't do Nestwork, and then some days where it's like I'm up in the morning, I'm attempting to figure out like timelines and roadmaps and what work I need to delegate to the rest of the team, knowing when to reach out to like other people to be like, oh, can you help me with this, X, Y, Z going on. So I think my day-to-day is either coding, going through emails, making sure that nothing's breaking.
Yeah, because coding can be really intimidating. Still, I find it quite intimidating. And I was wondering, just to take it back to your early years, what made you know you could code and then be the CTO of a tech platform? Like, did you ever see this future for yourself?
I say, like, going to the childhood, like, my brother kind of really got me into this world of like computer science and technology from very, very early on. We started on the hardware side of actually building like the physical computers, and then we transitioned to the web development. And back then it wasn't anything crazy. It was just like dragging and dropping and stuff like that. And then throughout secondary school, we'd have that kind of IT lesson, which everyone else like just messed around in. And I kind of was there like, oh wait, no, this actually works. Like, this is so cool, like making the logic happen. And
wow, because ICT was just a free period.
It was that free period where you just got a computer and you can Google away. But I think for me, it was kind of those lessons were the ones where I was like, this is actually a lot of fun, like being able to take a thought in my head and run with it and actually see it like come to life on the screen. And so then secondary school, A-levels, my degree, I've always like narrowed it down towards computer science. And then I think, at what point did I know I wanted to be a CTO or that I could do it? I didn't.
Yeah.
I think when you look at CTOs or when you think of CTOs, it's always people that are in the working world. They've got the experience. They've done this for years. And I'm like, I've just done uni projects or small like side things here and there. So I think there was a lot of belief from other people that it's like, you can do it. Like, why not just give it a go, try it out? What's the worst that can happen? And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring out what it means to be a CTO and what that entails, because it is more than just that coding side. It's like the business side as well, that I think that's what I didn't have before. Like the coding side, as scary as it can be, like it's comforting because I know that side in me.
Yeah.
But the CTO obviously encompasses a lot more than just that day-to-day coding.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And how, being so young, graduating uni, what did building Nestwork initially look like? What were you coding,
Yeah, so third year, we've actually rebranded and changed a lot in the 1.5 years that we've been together. But it was always a platform, like that social media platform that we were building, and a lot of the beginning phase was trying to design what is it actually going to look like, and I had a lot of input in that. So aside from the actual coding aspect, like I got to do a lot of designing and visualizing of how it would be, and then it was, okay, let's try and make a working model of that. So that kind of came more September, so like in the summer. Was the actual like, okay, let's start building this platform. Let's start taking these designs that we've like finalized and finished and actually putting that in front of people. So it's been a lot.
So you really worked on the designs, because I've seen Nestwork compared to other companies looked really nice when it came out.
Oh, the Nestwork you see now,
Okay.
we have a designer for that one.
Okay.
We have an amazing designer, Austin, but kind of like your early prototypes, your wireframes, like the general gist of what Nestwork could look like. I definitely got to do a lot of that, and it's nice. It was so nice kind of being able to give that to an actual like designer and go, okay, this is what it kind of looks like. Work your magic. And he worked his magic, and I then get to build that. I then get to look at those and go, now I get to bring your designs to life and actually click through it and show that to people. So it's taken a lot of people involved, but I think I like the creative side. Like my creativity comes out in coding, because it's like, no, I can't draw, I'm not an artist, but give me a screen, I can play around with it, I can put it in different places, and that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. And I was just really curious to know, because you were mentioning before, CTOs don't usually look like you. Did you ever feel imposter syndrome? Not saying that you should have done, but like, do you ever feel that, how are you a CTO without seeing maybe people that look like you being a CTO? Because I think representation is like really powerful in seeing where you are in the future.
Yeah, I definitely get imposter syndrome. I think sometimes I don't even say I'm the CTO, because I'm that feels like such a big title, like to give someone that I literally graduated I think it's been 7 months.
You have got a funded startup though, so.
But you know what it is? It's kind of one of those things, like, as you said, like you don't see a lot of people like you. And I think whenever I'd looked at what a CTO does or the levels that they're at, it was always someone way more senior. Like even in, even in the companies that I'd looked at to work in, it was always people way, way, way more senior. They've got all this experience under their belt. So it was kind of like, but I don't have these check mark things that all of these other people do have. So I think sometimes the imposter syndrome does come out, and I'm like, am I really good at what I'm doing? Like, do I know what I'm doing? Am I just having this title for the sake of having this title? So I think it's an internal battle with having like such a big title. But then I see like other people, like other startups, and one of the girls that I know, she's a CTO of their startup, and I'm like,
Oh, wow.
I love it for you.
Yeah.
Like I love seeing it, and it's like, I guess other people would look at me and go, well, you're also the CTO of your own, of the startup that you're part of, and I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, because that's what really stood out to me when I first met you at Initiators VC's event. I was like, wow, she's the CTO. And it shouldn't have been like a wow thing, but I was like, that's actually, really, really cool. So I really want to go on to how you balance your corporate, because you do work as a software engineer at JP Morgan, and you are a CTO of a funded company. Yeah. How do you do both?
That is a good question. How do I do both? I get this question a lot about like balance, and the honest answer is I don't.
Yeah.
There's no morning routine of wake up at this time, do this, then move on to this, and then do my 9 to 5 and come home. It's kind of just every day I go, okay, well, I have to go to work. Those are my contracted hours that I have to do. What else do I need to then do outside of my day? I live and die by my calendar because if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. But I think you kind of just go, well, these things have to get done. And if I can't do it in the daytime, I do it. I come home, I eat, and then it's like, okay, now I've got all of these things like to go down my task list to do. And my balance has only recently started getting a bit better. More so kind of since January time, but prior to January, I had the worst balance when I started the corporate world, because it's that, well, new job, new people, you're always wanting to socialize, meet, going out and stuff like that, and trying to balance that life of what most people have, where it's just your job and then you go home, you rest and relax, whatever. But it's like, okay, well, I want to go out, I want to do the after work drinks, but I also have 4 hours of meetings to get through this week. So it's like that balance of trying to, I guess, please all of the different sides, I think was really, really hard. And I was terrible at delegating. Yeah. Like, I think that's the other aspect of being a CTO, is realizing, well, you have other people that you have to eventually manage. As your team grows, you'll have more people that you have to manage. And I found delegating really, really hard, because it was like letting go of my child, like my project that I'd worked so long on. Whereas I think now, like, we have 2 developers on the team as well, and being able to give them stuff to do and go, you can't do it all. You have to be able to put it onto someone else and say, can you look after this? Can you focus on this? And I think doing that has improved my balance, because I don't feel like the weight of the world's on my shoulders. So yeah, I'd say like now I am able, like some days I do go to work and I come home and I'm like, I can't do any more. Like I don't have it in me, and that's okay. And I think it's also like communicating with the rest of the team, like I just can't do it, or like having to push it back, or knowing, okay, if I haven't done it today, when can I make it up?
That's nice that you've got that, like, is it self-awareness that you know that it's actually too much? Because a lot of people will
burn out.
To do what they, and it's good that you've got a team.
Like, it took me burning out to realize I needed a better balance.
Oh, really?
Like, I burnt out in January, and Sam, one of the co-founders on the team, he like, we were on a Zoom call, he was like, shut your laptop for 2 weeks, you're not allowed to do any work. If you can't answer it in a WhatsApp, it has to wait till you come back.
Wow.
And it took that.
So your team
my team going, take a minute. breathe.
Take a hot minute.
And like, that's kind of the turning point of realizing like I needed to have a better balance in life.
And then that informed what you do now with the delegating and things like
Yeah.
that. And with the developers you have, how did you know who to hire? Like, what were you looking for? Sort of like any early stage entrepreneurs looking who to bring onto their team. What stood out for them there?
They had skills that kind of complemented mine, but also filled in like the gaps that I knew I wasn't necessarily the strongest in. So like, for instance, the first developer we got, like I'm a front end developer. So like I prefer to do the visual side, the front, like what you give to people. And whilst I have done back end, it wasn't something that was my strong suit, and I knew it. And so when we were going and looking for a new person to bring on, it was like, okay, but do you have a strong set in the back end?
Right.
So that
because
you can
were
complement,
Yeah.
like, okay, whilst I'm doing this, you're doing that. And it also meant that because they were stronger in that aspect, I could rely on them and I could trust them to go, okay, yeah, I've got this, I can figure this out. And then again, kind of as we bring people in, it's that what areas am I maybe not able to fully give my all into? And can they do that? Can they give their all into that a bit more than me? So for instance, obviously, a lot of our platform is built on the cloud. Prior to Nestwork, like I had not done like anything on the cloud. So when we brought in our second developer, it was like, do you have experience with the cloud, with AWS? And it was like, yeah, they do. And so that was a given of like, okay, cool. You're going to come onto the team and you'd complement the team. You'd complement the strengths and weaknesses of others. So I think that's always kind of a big thing that we have, like when it comes to if we're going to hire another person or bring someone in, it's like, are they going to add value to a section of the project that isn't loved as much as the other parts?
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And I was just really curious to know, do you think, I don't want to throw you in the deep end, but do you ever think that your corporate role is de-accelerating your progress with Nestwork?
No.
No. Good, yeah.
And
I would love to
the reason
expand
I
that.
say that is because without my corporate role, I 100% would not know what I was doing. Because prior to the corporate world, the only things I'd ever worked on were personal projects, YouTube tutorials, uni like module projects and stuff like that. But they're not production. They're not what people actually see in real life. So there's certain aspects that now, obviously working a corporate job and it's something that's going out into production, people are seeing it, you have rules and things that you have to have in
It's
a
like more
product.
refined, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's more structure to it. And I think the amount of knowledge I've gained just in like the technical space in the 6 months of being in my job, had I done this myself, it would have taken way longer than that. Because I think with the corporate side is you have people that are surrounding you in those 8 hours of the
Helping
day.
you grow, helping
that you
you-
can
yeah.
ask questions to, helping you grow, and even just like the basic things like testing your product. It sounds so like, why wouldn't you test your product? But had I not done this corporate world, it probably would have taken me ages to get to the point where I'm like, oh guys, I think we meant to do like formal testing
Before
of our
putting it out,
product.
yeah. It's like best practices
Yeah,
you've got
it's
from
like
your...
the best practices that you learn that I think had I not done it and had I gone straight into just full time, I wouldn't have had that experience. I wouldn't have had that clue up of, oh, these are certain things that you need to be knowing, or even just how to work in a team.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we all know group projects at uni are not,
I don't
really
even want to...
teamwork.
Yeah.
They are one person doing the work and other people trailing along. Whereas in the real world of working, it's like you have to work in a team. You can't, like, no man's an
can't stay,
island
yeah.
in this corporate world. Like, you have to work with your team. And I think those kind of things, just the soft skills, you learn in the corporate world, the technical skills you learn in the corporate world. So I think it's probably actually accelerated almost my learnings that I can then actually not enforce, but like put into like the startup side of me of like best practices, what kind of things we should have in line to better position us now for the future.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's really interesting because normally you'd think it would be a time suck, all those hours in the day. But it's nice to know that like how you framed it, that it's actually accelerating what you do.
Because I think like it is hard, obviously. Your hours awake are obviously taken up in the corporate world. So I guess from that side, it does get quite tiring because it's like I've already done a shift at work and then I've got to do another shift. But knowledge-wise, I wouldn't know what to do without that corporate insight.
So have you always been a hard worker? Because, you know, you're working, I guess, most hours of the day, except when you sleep. So has that something that's just instilled in you? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. I'd definitely say probably like since I was a child, like I've always had like a drive for wanting to do well and wanting to succeed. And I think kind of my family are a big influence in that and just seeing their work ethic, their drive. And that's definitely helped me because one, I have their support all the time. But you almost strive to be them, or like you strive to want to hit that bar like a little bit more than they did. So I think from honestly as early as I can remember, I think I've tended to give subjects like as much as I can, especially if I've liked them. I think
if you like,
like I remember GCSE computer science, I really wanted an A star. And I got an A, and I remember crying.
Oh my gosh,
and you're thinking like, why are you crying? You got an A. And it was like, but I could have done like that bit more.
Yeah.
And it was always like a personal thing. Like it was never my parents putting stress of like, you have to do X, Y, Z. I think it was that internal of like, I know I can do it. I know I can push through it. And that's always driven me in a sense of, I've set a personal target for myself always. Yeah. And even if I've never met it, I've still progressed. Like I've still got closer than I would have been if I just sat back and said, oh, we'll figure it out. Yeah. We'll see if we can get that top grade or whatever. And so throughout like different stages of my life, I think I've always set like a small personal target of like, what do I want to achieve by the end of first year? Nice. By the end of second year, by the end of third year. So yeah, I'd say like hard work is something that I've just always strived to do. Yeah. Some days you just want to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you've got like a goal-setting mentality sort of thing. You always have these goals. That's really, really interesting. And what has been some of your biggest learning experiences whilst being the CTO of a technology company?
The world of entrepreneurship is so hard. Yeah. I think it is something that you heard of, like growing up, like seeing people like starting their own businesses, and you're thinking, oh, that must be like really easy. Like you're your own team or your own manager. But I think the biggest challenge is realizing if I didn't have the team I have now, it would be 10 times harder. Like, I could not do this by myself. One, because there's so many facets of this industry, this entrepreneurship lifestyle, startup lifestyle, that you can't be an island sometimes. Yeah. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, kind of just trying to understand what you have to do to make yourself succeed.
Yeah, it's about having a really ambitious, good team around you. Yeah.
Like for this especially, like I've definitely realized like the value of team. As I mentioned earlier, like delegating, that was a very big challenge for me, to be able to actually kind of take a step back, not want to micromanage, not want to be the person doing it all. That was definitely a really big challenge that I had in the beginning.
That is really interesting though, because I've seen your team before Initiator VC, and I don't know if this is weird to say, but it's like one of the most beautiful teams, like in terms of like diversity and like different, like it's just, you know, when there's a particular image of a startup tech company, And your team just breaks all the ideals of what a team should look. And it's really, really nice to look at. Like, I was thinking about the university perspectives, you know, when they get all the diverse, they take a picture on the grass.
Like, how can we get every single checkbox tick today? Yeah.
But in a good way, because I guess you're all friends, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that was also the nice thing of like, we actually get on as a team and everyone wants to show up, not just because of the work, but because we work together as a team. Like, we like each other's company. Like, my favorite thing to do kind of outside of my role as CTO is I plan our Nestwork days and our Nestwork, because we're all scattered everywhere now.
Yeah.
Like, we all started in Loughborough, every single one of our team, but some are on placement, some are graduated, some are still there. And so we have Nestwork days where it's one day that we all get together in one location. We all bring our laptops and we just do our work in the same room, kind of almost as if we were
working
9
together.
to 5ing. And it's just so nice, kind of the atmosphere. And I think that's also another thing that makes it easier. Like, as draining as working all the time can be, it's like you have a good team behind you that supports you, that takes interest in not just, okay, what progress have you made on the platform, but it's like, how's life, Tom?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think team is definitely the biggest thing, and I think it makes whatever challenges that we do face and we do come into easier to go through, because you know you can rely on other people's opinions or advice, and just having like that other person that has the context to talk it through with.
Yeah. We're going to play a quick game of Would You Rather.
Oh no.
But it's a technology and entrepreneurship version, since, you know, you are in both. Yeah. So the first question is, would you rather have unlimited high-speed internet or the latest top-of-the-line computer?
I'm going to say internet.
Yeah. Why?
Because for the most part, what I need to do, like coding-wise, I don't need like top-of-the-line spec computer.
Okay. That's good to know.
However, I do need good internet. There is nothing worse than your thing like taking 10 years to load, and you're like I've moved on, like we need to speed this up. So yeah. I
totally agree with you. Have you ever like been to places and you know the Wi-Fi is really slow and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I feel a bit like, it feels like a first world problem, but I'm like, the Wi-Fi should be faster.
No, literally, I'll be watching the bar going across and I'm like, whoa. We do not have all day.
We don't do this. This is 21st century. So the next question is, would you rather have a startup that is acquired by a big tech company or one that becomes a big tech company?
You stumped me now. I'd say selfishly be acquired.
Ooh, okay, interesting. I had a feeling you might say that. Why is that?
I think probably it's the corporate side of me coming out, and I do enjoy the corporate world. So I think kind of the startup side of me would get to build it and get it to a point where a big company is even interested. So it's like, okay, I've done my startup side, we've been like acquired, and now I can go back to being
a corporate girl.
A corporate girly. Like I can go back to just like not having someone depend on me at the moment.
And there's no shame in that. You know, I think there's a lot of shame between like people are like, oh, you should be doing your thing full time, but like I love how you've expressed another way to do it.
Yeah, like I think as I think it would, like, you always have that, like, if we make it and we make it big and we become that big company, it's like, that's very exciting and very exhilarating. And it's like, wow, we did that. Like, we built it from the ground up and you can see it. But I think I love being hands-on with, like, the technology. And I think the higher you go, and obviously, as a CTO, I don't think you can go any higher than that.
Like the bigger,
technical-wise, like the bigger you get, like the more kind of you become managing people.
It's more strategic,
and
isn't it?
strategic and delegating and having other heads that are doing their things. Whereas right now in the corporate world, I'm not managing anyone. So I go to work, I do the hands-on stuff. I still get like a seat at the conversation for certain like product things or design stuff, but I just get to code. That's my job.
That's your passion. And would you rather have a business that is hardware-based or software-based? This is without ignoring Nestwork.
Software-based.
Software-based. And why is that?
I love software. Like I love kind of the being able to create a vision and actually see it through and build that software and have something that you can present to people. Like software you can present to non-technical people and they'll be like, oh, that looks really cool. Or like, oh, I like this button, clicking this, whatever. Whereas I think with hardware, it's kind of like, here's a phone, but people aren't going to like fully appreciate what goes into the making of that phone.
So software, yeah.
And I think I'm very much, I like to give it to people and see like what other people think and get like their full range of opinion.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And this is the last question. I hope this doesn't stump you. I'm being a bit here.
Okay.
Would you rather be a corporate girly or a full-time entrepreneur?
I feel like I knew this question was going to come.
Like you have to give an answer.
Oh.
I don't want to put too much pressure. If you don't want to answer, it's a safe space. You don't have to.
I can answer. It might not be a good answer, but if you were to ask me as you're asking me, if that was for the right noun, I'd be okay.
No, not of right now. Just
your
life.
In general. Oh,
just because we know your answer to right now, don't we?
Yeah. In general, probably a corporate girly. And I say that because I think with the corporate world, there's a lot more flexibility to whether it's the day-to-day role. Like if you don't like your day-to-day role, you move. Whether it's companies, whether it's division, section, whatever. And there's different paths. There's a lot more structure, I'd say, in the corporate world. Obviously, if your startup ever gets big enough, it becomes a corporate company anyway, because you're at a scale where you have to have that structure. But I think the uncertainty in the startup world and startups in general, I don't know if I'm that risk averse to go like 100% full time. And I think I've always seen myself, like even growing up, kind of working my way through the ranks, doing different jobs, different roles in an office. That socializing, that meeting new people is a lot easier in the corporate setting, I'd say, than in the startup setting. So yeah.
Brilliant. That's a really good answer. So do you think in the future Nestwork would need a full-time person, or what's the views on that?
100%. Like I think at the rate we're going, like
because you're growing fast.
We are. And I love that for us because you get to, like, you see other people believing in, like, this project that you sat in random rooms going, oh, would this work, would that work? And in order to take it to that higher level of success that we're going on, I think you do have to be full-time to be able to give it, like, 100% your all. And that's always been like a really hard bridge that I know eventually like I'd have to cross. But yeah, like as for full time, I think to give it what it deserves and like the right strength in terms of full-time team to take it to where we believe it can go, like you do have to have full-timers.
Now we're having your closing questions and final thought. Who has been your biggest inspiration as an entrepreneur?
Oh, as an entrepreneur, I'd say, oh, that's a really good question. As an entrepreneur, I definitely have to say the co-founders of Nestwork. I think one, because we're all literally like the same age, and their work ethic, their drive, their even just knowledge in this space, I think impresses me every day. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not this clued up about it. But they also like are aware that I'm not this clued up, and it's not a what are you doing? It's a like just ask questions, like if something doesn't make sense, or they'll always bring me in on things. Sam, big shout out to Sam, especially.
Sam, I know Sam, great guy.
He has always brought me onto projects that he does, and for like genuinely, like we first met, we both went to Loughborough, and we met back in December of my second year, just for coffee. Like he messaged me on LinkedIn and was like, oh hey, you know, seen your profile, like would love to grab a coffee. And it was just a chit chat, like about the stuff I was doing at the time, the stuff he was doing at the time.
He's a really great networker, just as a side.
Sam he's a network person. Like he's that. But since then, whether it's I don't know if you had the Black in Sports Summit.
Yeah.
So I do the web designing for that. But it's like he brought me onto that.
He brings you on.
He brings me on, and I think one, I'm inspired by him as a person. But two, like the fact that he brings me along this journey, I think is a real trajectory changer.
Wow. It's like who you know, isn't it?
Life is very much who you know. Like who you know versus what you know type of thing.
And it's great that he's brought you with, you know, to do these amazing things. And I just want to ask, what advice would you give to other young entrepreneurs who maybe are battling with the decision to start a company or maybe do the corporate space? What would you suggest?
I think it depends at what stage you're at. So if you're at uni, just go for it. I think the time that uni allows you is that space to try new things, because worst case it fails while you're still doing your degree. You have this free time where it's like you're not necessarily attending lectures. You're still doing the work, but it's like you have this time that you can give. Like it was so much easier doing startup work during uni because I could give it whatever time, whenever I wanted. And I think if you believe in it, like go for it, try it out. Like that is the time. As with any experience, like uni is the time
to try things.
As for the kind of, if you're battling with the corporate, honestly, I'm still battling with the corporate. But at the same time, I think when it does come to that decision making that I have to do, or that you have to do, it's kind of, we are young. God willing, we have many years and decades ahead of us. So it's like, why not?
Why not?
Like the corporate world is always going to be there. It would have moved along, but life moves along. Time moves along. New technologies come out. So it's like, let's say worst case scenario happens and things don't go to plan, I can still go back. Like it's not, once you leave the corporate world, you can never go back. Like it's not a closed door situation. So if you genuinely believe in it and you're passionate about it, like I think a big part of wanting to do something like that comes from passion. Like you have to truly believe in it yourself, so that you can sell that to others and be like, oh, okay, invest in me, believe in me. If it's a team that you know you're going to need, find a solid team that's actually, like when they say they're going to do something, they will do it, and you're not having to chase them to do it. So yeah, I'd say my advice is like, if you believe in yourself enough, try it out. Like we have time. Like if all else fails, we still have time to go back and try something new. And it's not a loss of knowledge. Like all of the information I've gained, I've still gained information. I've still gained understanding. So it's not a waste either.
Agreed. And for the final question, what are any final thoughts you have that you want to share? Anything? Words of wisdom, just how you're feeling, what you'll say to others, anything.
The corporate world is not as much of a monster as people think it is. I think, it's nice to kind of be able to say like, oh, I'm part of a startup. But I think the corporate world also has its pros and its benefits. And startup for me is almost like, you know, at uni when you constantly always had something in your mind of like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. Startups are the same in a sense of you're never really off the clock. So if you can handle that, go for it. But if you know you just want to be able to go in, do your work and go home, it's a big adjustment to make. Another big thing is going on holiday. I think the only way I can truly relax is to actually just be out of the vicinity of my laptop, my general working space. Taking breaks is also a big thing. Like if you're gonna be in a startup, like knowing that no one's gonna die if you take a week. Like, yeah, there's a lot of kind of external factors you have to factor in. But you also can't do a startup if you come and kill yourself. You know what I mean?
You've got to rest,
Like you have to rest, you have to take the time that you know that you need to be able to succeed for your company as a whole.
Wow, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Som. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you gained anything useful, let us know in the comments. Let us know the businesses you want to start. Thanks. Bye.